All right, so we're turning on my Xbox 360. Um, it has a RGH chip in it. I bought it off of some kid over the summer, and because I can't be I can't be opening up a 360 and soldering like 7 different wires to like 7 different points inside the system and all that crazy shit. Power to anybody who wants to do that. Good for you, and thank you for doing it because that's what gave me this Xbox 360, which I went home and spent the next 2 weeks putting like 400 friggin' games on the thing. So that's what we're about to go through and take a look at right now. Is my hacked 360 and all the games that I have on it. So Prototype's always the first game that shows up because they put it in those brackets. That's just like a thing. I'm sure you've noticed if you've ever had Prototype in any of your digital libraries, it's just the first one that shows up because it's in those brackets. But I mean, this thing is filled with games. And there's a couple of games that don't have covers like straight up at all, and I wasn't able to get the covers for them. And like if I wanted to like manually add them, like I totally can. I could do that. I just haven't because I'm kind of lazy about shit like that. It's not that important to me. But most of these do have covers because it just automatically went and downloaded all that shit. And there's a couple repeats. That's because they actually are installed to 2 separate hard drives on the thing. I got to go and delete one of them, and then then the repeat will it'll disappear. There's just been times where I've copied things to and from certain hard drives. In the whole getting the thing to work, it's actually pretty cool. Like I have some games installed on the internal hard drive inside the system itself, and then I have a 1 terabyte solid state hard drive that I got off of Temu for very cheap, and it has like everything else on it, and that's why I'm able to have almost 400 games on this thing. This thing is great, honestly. I can't I can't recommend doing the RGH mod yourself because I don't know how to do it myself, but I recommend somehow getting your hands on a 360 like this because it is awesome for game preservation. Now there's a couple like this one, I don't know why it doesn't work. It's like it's too new or something, and I'm sure I can get it to work if I knew how all this shit worked. But it's been like 6 months since I hit up the kid who gave me the thing, and I don't know if I want to hit him up on Facebook Marketplace and be like, "Yo, Sonic All Stars Racing Transformed isn't working. How can I get it to work?" It's something I will probably eventually figure out for myself. Small Arms. This game is awesome. It's like a Super Smash Brothers with guns. A demo of it may have come pre-installed on your Xbox 360 if you got one early on. Skate 2 is like my go-to game. I end up playing this all the time. I fire this thing up thinking, I am going to play one of those 400 7th gen games, and then like I go and play Skate 2. Like I play this game a lot when I start this thing up because it's just like, I see it, it clicks, I'm like, I got to play it. And my, I hadn't played Skate 2 for probably over 10 years. And because I mean once Skate 3 came out, it was like it felt like, at least at the time, that there was like no looking back. It felt like more mechanically sound and all that shit compared to Skate 2, but I don't think so actually. Going back and playing Skate 2, Skate 2 is a lot more in line with Skate 1 as far as mechanics and grounded realism and shit goes. It might be a little bit clunkier in certain ways, a little bit less accessible in certain ways, but I think overall Skate 2 is like the best that the series has to offer so far. And a big thing for that was I got a modded PlayStation 3 fairly recently, like within the last year. And one of the games I threw on that like right away was Skate 2 because it just had been so long since I had played Skate 2 that I just really wanted to just try it again. And I played Skate 2 on that, and it just ran atrociously. There's a lot of things on the PS3 that were cross-gen. I'm sorry, not cross-gen. That were cross-platform. That were on both PS3 and 360. That run better on 360 than they did on PS3. Even though the PS3 was fundamentally more powerful, there's these discrepancies between like the way that the developers decided to like offload basically offload the system's workload onto different parts of the processor, and like the proprietary architecture of the PS3 was set to handle pretty much anything you threw at it if you threw it into the right hands, if that's a good metaphor. But the 360 just ran shit. So there was a lot of games where people didn't realize, like, why does this run like shit on the 360? I'm sorry, why does this run like shit on the PS3 but not on the 360, even though the PS3 is more powerful? Skate 2 was one of those victims, and I remember playing Skate 2 on my PS3 being like, I love this game, but it kind of runs like shit. I wish I had a 360 copy. And then when I got my hacked 360, it was one of the first games I downloaded, and still one of the games I play the most on here because it's just awesome. And then there's just there's just great titles on here. I mean, Sid Meier's Pirates, you can dump so much time into this fucking game. There's so much shit to do in it. It's all the same shit, but it's all basically like Sea of Thieves. And I got the Saints Row 1 and 2. I don't really need further than that. Like, those are awesome. Those are great games. I mean, look at how hard the box art for Saints Row 1 goes. It's a city with guns for buildings. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Who the fuck came up with that? That is so sick. That is so fucking sick. Look at how badass the whole thing looks. Dude, Saints Row, Sinners Welcome. Welcome to Stillwater, an open-world city with attitude, a city controlled by rival gangs, a city you are about to take over. Like, how does that not look fucking awesome, dude? And then the second one was just like, yeah, dude, everything that you thought was missing from GTA 4, we're going to put it in this game, and we're going to sell it. That was awesome. Really, really, just such a great time for games. All of this, that's what this whole thing is. It just reminds me of the best time for gaming. I just installed this one the other day. Alright, here's a good example of how this thing works a little bit. I need to go into here and let's see, how do I do this now? Download cover, because that cover is whack. Like, you can tell that that's not the right cover. So just download this one. That looks right. And then it'll switch it out for me with like the actual one that you would have saw in the store. Awesome. It's fucking awesome how this thing works. Now, Xbox One, original Xbox compatibility is pretty cool, because 360 did not play all original Xbox games because of it was emulating original Xbox, and there was just certain aspects that it was basically just not able to handle, and still to this day the 360 can't handle every Xbox game, every original Xbox game. But instead of just being tied to the library of officially licensed or officially basically games that were officially made backwards compatible by Microsoft, instead of having it go by that library, you can basically try any of them, and there's a whole compatibility list online that people have put together being like, oh, this game runs this far, this game runs this far, and then it shits the bed if you do this, or this game is completely playable, even though it was an original backwards compatible title. For some reason, like, this game is completely playable, and there's a ton of them that are like that. So I ended up putting a bunch of original Xbox games on here, and I don't have the compatibility list in my head memorized to what works and what doesn't. So, sometimes I might be firing up one of these games and like it might not work, or it might not get past a certain boot screen or something, but I still have them. I tried this game. This is one of those games you saw in the store when you were a fucking kid and you were like, I wonder what this is. And surprisingly, it is it's like a management game. It's like a Sims game where you play as like one guy and you can walk around as that guy, and then you do basically Sims kind of stuff. But instead of being like trying not to shit your pants, you're like hiring photographers and models and shit. It's cool. It's kind of cool. I don't know if I suggest it, but it's just one of those ones that it was like, once I got the hacked Xbox, I'm like, I gotta try this. The fuck? I would never buy it. I don't know how much copies of it are on eBay, but we got Pitfall, Last Expedition, I remember playing this game briefly when I was a kid. Honestly, the first 3D Pitfall game is called Pitfall 3D Beyond the Jungle. Was the like one of the first video games I ever even saw or played. Phantasy Star Universe, even though I've never really played that much of this game, I have pretty fond memories of, just because it's a game I saw my buddy who used to have a 360 before I got one. I saw him playing it a lot back in the day. It's pretty cool. I mean, Phantasy Star is what it is. It's fantasy and it's stars. You got Peter Jackson's King Kong, the official game of the movie, which, I mean, if you haven't played this fucking game, oh God, this game is so cool. This game has a completely simulated environment where they it has a food chain, and like things will eat other things. Things will eat other things that are smaller and bigger, shit like that. Like it's, like to get rid of raptors that are gonna eat your ass, you can like stab a grub with your spear, and then throw the spear, and then the raptors will chase after that, giving you a chance to run in the other direction. It's one of those games. And then there's the parts where you play as Kong, and it's from a completely different perspective, and you can just kick ass as him and like break the necks off of dinosaurs and shit. And that shows it right there on the back. It shows the first person there on the left, and then the third person, more like cinematic viewpoints of the parts where you play as Kong. Really, really just such an awesome game. And when I fired it up, it was one of those games that really I was like, wow. Like the 7th gen and their harnessing of graphics technology, and the way that they like really just started to do stuff. Like the way they started to do stuff at a graphical standpoint, because they fucking could. It's awesome. It's just really awesome to see this entire gen. Got some games I haven't really played that much of. I played a little bit of Perfect Dark. I played a little bit of Payday. I remember playing this when I was a kid. Overlord's really cool. It's kind of like Pikmin meets Fable. You play as this like big evil lord guy who has all these like imp minions that look just like gremlins, that come out of the ground, and like you're just like ordering them to like, go into hovels and like eat villagers and shit like that. It's cool. It's a pretty freaking cool game. I gotta say, I haven't played enough of it. That's a game I could probably beat in a few hours if I just play it. Otogi, I don't know how the fuck you pronounce this game. This is made by the dudes who made Dark Souls, or who would go on to make Dark Souls. And it's like this action platformer game that I did not play back in the day, but I had only heard good things about, so I decided to try it. I mean, it's hard, it's obtuse, it's not a game I necessarily picture myself ever getting fully into, but it's cool. It's cool if you want to check out that kind of shit. I don't know, got some random shit here. This is like a Silent Hill type game. This is like a tower defense game I've never tried. You got Oblivion. I could probably sit and talk for hours about how much nostalgia is tied to Oblivion. I mean, Oblivion was like the staple of those games that it's like, you see that over there? You can go do that. You see that shit on the table? You can pick it up. It was the staple of that kind of interaction in games. I remember Morrowind for the first time, seeing the Elder Scrolls Morrowind for the first time. It was hot off the heels of when Fable came out. Now I get that that's a few years after Morrowind come out, but I just hadn't gotten around to seeing it. I'd never known it. Things were different with recommendations and shit back then. And I remember thinking Fable was going to be the craziest game. It was going to be groundbreaking. It was going to be like, that game where you could plant a seed and watch a tree grow and all this shit that Peter Molyneux said. It was going to be that game. And it wasn't. And I saw it a little bit for myself, and then my buddy finally got his hands on it, and he beat it in like a night. And I remember him telling me the next morning, I had stayed over his house, but two buddies lived in the same house, upstairs, downstairs, and I stayed upstairs with the other buddy, and went downstairs the next morning. We were all eating breakfast together, and he's like, oh yeah, I beat Fable last night. And I'm like, didn't you just get it last night? He's like, yeah, the main story was pretty short, but the game's cool. And I was just thinking to myself, like, Fable, in my head, did not sound like a game that you would lock yourself into your room and then have beaten by breakfast. That didn't sound right to me at all. And not long after that, we started getting the the promotion material for Oblivion and hearing what Oblivion was going to actually be like and shit like that. And seeing the screenshots, they were like the same screenshots they used on the cover right here. And we're seeing them, and I'm like, man, this game looks fucking crazy, and it's the fourth in a series. So we went and found out that the third in the series was on the original Xbox, and we had original Xboxes. So we went out, we picked it up. It was like $15. Morrowind, Game of the Year edition, and playing Morrowind Game of the Year edition. Where is it? It's over here. Here we go. Playing Morrowind Game of the Year edition for the first time. This truly felt like the first game where you could do whatever you wanted. Like, actually do whatever you wanted. I swear. I mean, we had gotten to play GTA by that point. We had gotten to play like stuff like Metal Gear and stuff like that at that point. But this was a game where you could go inside every single building and talk to every single person, and every single person was uniquely named and seemed to have their own schedule, even though if a lot of it was just them standing there doing nothing. This was the first game that felt like it was actually in a cohesive, living world that you were a part of, and not just the world was around you, like in all the other games. Yeah, Morrowind. I mean, I remember and I can still think about it. Like, in Morrowind, I remember how small rings were. Like, if you put a ring down, it was just a very small object in the environment. And I was just so baffled at the fact that I could hypothetically put a ring down on a windowsill in a castle somewhere, and it's always going to be there. Like, that to me, that simple attention to detail, that simple, the micro detail basically was what really, really enthralled me. And to this day, I think like tangibility of in-game items is like a very, very, like, to me, it's a very sought after aspect. I mean, I play a lot of Rust, and when they added putting, like when they added putting tools and weapons and stuff onto the walls, that was like awesome to me, because it's like, look at all my shit, look at all my, like I remember in Morrowind, you would kill somebody and you would steal their house, and you'd pile up all your loot and be like, look at all my shit. We got this Naruto game that's like semi-open world. That's really cool. I've never been a Naruto fan, but I've always been kind of interested in this game because it just looks cool. It's got a really cool, like, very pleasant, adheres to the anime, like, art style. Got Miss Pac-Man looking fucking hot. We got Mrs. Splosion Man with the fucking cake, dude. She's also looking pretty hot. Of course, the misses are right next to each other. Monster Madness Battle for Suburbia. I gotta give this game a shot. I gotta try this game because I have heard it's a spiritual successor to Zombies Ate My Neighbors, actually, from what I understand. Haven't played this. This is really cool. It's like a heist game where everything kind of, you're looking at like blueprints, like top down. It looks like you're looking at blueprints, and view cones are only based on what your character would be able to see in real time. It's hard to explain, but visually it's pretty striking. Apparently this is like a little ninja game made by the dudes who made Hitman, and that it's actually really good, but I've never tried it myself. We got, this is a pretty good game, Midnight Club 3 Dub Edition. I just remember pimping my ride. It's like literally a pimp my ride type of game. That was the draw to it. But also the aesthetic was pretty good. It had that Need for Speed Underground, city streets in the middle of the night. Definitely those kind of vibes. Never played Meteos. Heard it's cool though. Metal Slugs are great. That's a great series with great art style. Oh, I wouldn't even know where to start if I want to start talking about Metal Gear. Metal Gear games are fucking great. If you don't already know Metal Gear games are great, I don't know what to tell you. Metal Gear games are fucking great. This was a good little banger of a game. We used to play a lot of this game split screen back in the day. Me and my buddy Brian, oh man, we would play this game split screen. Play the shit out of it. I don't even think I ever got more than 2 or 3 levels into the actual story, but we used to play the shit out of it split screen. I actually even played a few rounds of it with a girlfriend a few years ago. We kind of had fun with it too. I didn't have fun with her though. She wasn't really cool. Anyway, we got Mech Assault Lone Wolf 2. This is one of those old Xbox games I actually got to play on Xbox Live back in the day. Original Xbox Live. And I remember the lobby was one of those lobbies where it was like a physical in-game lobby where you're like actually running around. You can like see all the players load in and stuff before the match started. That's something we don't really get in games anymore. I don't know why it's not like that. You think about the way games are now, like lobbies, you got those lobbies where all the lobbies show all of your dudes all just standing there, all looking hard. And it's like, why not be able to walk around, sit, decorate your lobby or something like that? Like decorating your lobby. Isn't that a fucking novel idea? Anyway, Mass Effect, great game. Maybe one of these days I'll fucking beat it. I don't really have any interest in the rest of the series, but this is a standalone game. Very, very cool to me. I really like the idea of it, and I really do remember the hype behind it. There was a lot of hype behind Mass Effect. Big time. People were very hyped for this game. It was one of those games where it was like, look at our fucking tech. Look at our big dick fucking tech. Look at the fucking way the lips move when people talk. It looks dated by today's standards, but it really, really evolved the industry. Big time. Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Banger, obviously. It's like obviously a banger of a fucking fighting game. It's mad fun. It's like super fun. Mark of the Ninja, haven't really given this a good shot. Always looked kind of cool though. Oh. Do not even get me started. I could go off about Marble Blast Ultra, but I could say also that even if you don't have a 360 and even if you don't have access to that kind of access to this game, when the publisher went defunct, I don't know when, but it was a while back, I guess they decided to just upload the whole game for free as a PC application, so you can go and find it. And this game is so good. Oh my god, this game is so good. It's so much cooler than it looks, but it's exactly what it looks like. It's you roll that ball around on those platforms, and you try not to fall off, and there's this awesome techno playing, and the backgrounds are all this weird liminal fucking like esoteric fucking shit that's really cool, and it's a banger. It's a banger. I mean, maybe it's because I played it, shaded from sunlight in a Bestos fucking lined basement when I was a kid, but I love this game, and I still love it when I play it. It's like you talk about Manhunt, they take your fucking video down. Lumines, whatever the fuck you want to call this. This is a great puzzler. On whatever platform you can find it on. It was originally on PSP. There's a homebrew port of it for Game Boy Advance even, and it's on a bunch of stuff. They got it on Switch. They got like an advanced version of it on Switch that's great. It's a game that I very, very, very much suggest. It's sick. It's a sick game. It's fucking awesome. It's a great game. The guy who made it made a bunch of these crazy like rhythm puzzlers like Every Extend Extra and Rez and Child of Eden. Off the top of my head, I can't think of what else, but he made all those kind of trippy, crazy visual like boof, 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 fucking sick, those kind of games. Anyway, we got Lord of the Rings Conquest, which is, if you don't know, is Star Wars Battlefront, but Lord of the Rings themed. And a highly sought after game when it comes to physical copies. I'm not sure as far as the pricing goes, but I do remember this game being one of those games where I saw a physical copy of it and I was like, I need this, I want it, I'm taking it. This is a real-time strategy game based on Lord of the Rings, but I haven't really given it a proper shot. The Lost Planet games are fantastic. Limbo. Limbo started a whole complete section of games, I think. I really do. I think between Limbo and Braid, but I think Limbo is more known, but I think between Limbo and Braid, those sort of kicked off the Like the idea that not every game needs to be huge AAA 3D. Like, what, you know, it felt like once games started getting like that, they didn't look back for a while. And then games like Limbo and Braid were like, let's take it down a notch. Let's tone it down a little bit. Like, let's see what we can do with the design philosophies of an old game, but with the technology of today's games. And it's awesome. It's awesome that that's something that they started to do, because now we have a whole fucking full-fledged indie scene that has some of the best games that exist. I don't know what the fuck this is. I know what the fuck that is, but I never tried it. Kane and Lynch, I never really gave that a good shot either. I should one of these days. Cameo is one of those cool games where it feels like a GameCube game, but it's an Xbox game. I got good things to say about Just Cause and Just Cause 2. I remember actually Just Cause 1 was probably one of my most hyped games of all time. Yeah, it's kind of weird because I play a lot of games and I know a lot of games and shit like that, but Just Cause 1 was one of my most hyped games of all time. I really thought that game was everything. And I really loved it when it came out. I actually was not disappointed at all. Looking back, it was janky, it was a mess, it was very rudimentary, it was very much just a base of what the series would become. But man, just the idea of like gliding around on the tropical islands and jumping on the vehicles and climbing around them and, you know, swinging into them and shit like that. Like, I was about it. I had so much fun with this game when I was a kid, I swear. I had so much fun with this game that I let my first ever girlfriend borrow it, and I'm pretty sure she was bullshitting me when she gave it back to me, and she was like, yeah, I beat it. Jurassic Park the game. I heard it sucks, but I'm going to give it a chance. Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, without its cover, is a real-time strategy game that's like a park management simulation. Apparently that game is very rare, too. Very expensive. Joust. Jet Set Radio. These Jedi games I haven't played. Jaws Unleashed I haven't played. Ion Assault, I don't even know what that is. I think I thought it was something else when I went to download it. Look at all these games, but that's what I'm talking about. You know, I am fully prepared to explore the good ones in depth, you know. I got a lot to say about a lot of these. You know, in the attempt to keep this semi brief, because I'm already running like almost half an hour here just talking about the main menu of my 360. But look at these fucking games. I mean, Fable 2. What are you gonna do? It's Russian. Why is the cover Russian? That's a good one though. That's a good example of what I was talking about earlier about how you know, my buddy got Fable 1 and I was like, you beat it in a night? What? And then Fable 2 comes out years later and I played it and I was like, this is everything that they said Fable 1 was going to be and that it wasn't. Did we fix it? Yeah, who will you become? Fear's cool. Fear's one of those games I keep thinking of and I'm like, I'm going to turn on my 360 and I'm going to play Fear. Let's try it out.
Rated M for mature.
Anyway, yeah, I don't know. I don't want to be like a fucking like and subscribe and comment if you want to hear anything else about my. I don't really want to be one of those guys about shit, but I don't think it would be a bad idea for me to start somewhere and start delivering at least some form of content to people. You know, start saying, hey, I like games a lot. I have a lot to say about them and I play them. Does anybody want to hear about it? You know? I don't know. Like I said, I don't want to be one of those like and subscribe dweebs, but who knows, you know? Who knows? It's about opening up different avenues and shit like that, you know? I don't think I would produce the cringest of content. All I have is mostly praise. I don't really have a lot of stuff to talk shit about. You know, everything's pretty. These are still the good old days, I think. Anyway, yeah, shit, I might record gameplay if you want to see me suck. at the fucking games.